Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we're back on the test server, so I'm able to try out some of the new champions. And today we're going to be trying the new Fragment Fusion champion, Ruel the Huntmaster. Honestly, I think he's got a fantastic kit. I think he's got a really cool kit. And as ever, like, very cool visuals. I'm not so sure about the wings. I know what they're trying to do with it. I'm not so sure about that, but the bow is sweet. The animations look cool. So as ever, they have done a top job bringing out new champions visually. So I just want to talk through what he can do. So he's got a decreased defense A1, 50% chance of placing it. You can book it to 75, and he's also got this ability that transfers a random debuff from this champion to the target if they're under Hex. Honestly, if they're under Hex and they're not dead, you're probably doing something wrong in your build, or he's going to be dead. So I can't see many situations where this is going to apply. But it is there. It's there as I guess maybe if you're fighting something like the dragon, you know, you take a weaken, you can throw the weaken back on him. But one debuff transfer, it's kind of like, okay. But at least we've got some utility on the A1. A decreased defense, A1, on a champion that is a hard hitter. You know, it's a bit like Foley. The A1's a bonus. So we've got here an A2 then, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on enemies under Hex. We get Hex in a second. We'll ignore 25% of each target's defense if there are 4 or more enemies under Hex. So if you do a team Hex, yeah, you ignore 25% of everyone's defense. And if you imagine you then stack that with Savage, you stack it with Helm Smasher, really, he's a champion that shouldn't need decreased defense. That's the way I'm seeing it. Helm Smasher and Savage, alongside this, ignoring 25%. They're not additive, so they do kind of like, it will be 25% of whatever is left. So with all of the different ignore defense mechanics, they depreciate over time. So depreciate over time, they're on a curve. So basically, you can't ignore all of somebody's defense. If you had decreased defense on already, then this would be significantly weaker in terms of the amount of extra defense it would ignore, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's still a fantastic skill. Booking this out gives you another 30% damage. Now, if you see my do more damage video, you'll know that that basically means you take whatever number you would have hit for and you just times it by 1.3. Yeah, so if you're hitting for 100k, this will make you hit for 130k, booking this out. The books for damage are actually really, really valuable. And then we've got finally this last ability here, which I love. He does have a passive as well, actually. So increase accuracy on all allies for 2 turns. That's just happening. Yeah. Then places a Hex on all enemies for 2 turns. It's places, so you don't need to hit, so you can't weak hit with this ability. Yeah, so 2 turns Hex. Also places a Veil on himself for 2 turns, and he gets 50% more turn meter. This is a massive, massive skill. Massive skill. So he's improving your accuracy. He's improving his own accuracy as well. He's making the enemy be set up for this kind of high damage move, and he is hiding himself from the battle. And also, if AoEs come in, he's taking less damage because of the perfect Veil. Yeah, he's getting a straight up turn meter fill, and at the same time, the passive kicks in. So anyone who goes under Hex gets their speed reduced by 5%. So if you can imagine in the arena, you're up against a, 300 speed Sifi, that Sifi is going to lose 15 speed straight out. It's actually kind of big. It's kind of big. So I do like the way they've kind of blended his kit together. It feels cool. The chance to decrease in resistance by 10% for anyone under Hex. Honestly, it feels like that's a bit redundant because to place Hex, you had to beat their resistance anyway. I guess it might be cool for other people in your team trying to land stuff. But honestly, I think this part of it is pretty much redundant. Also increases the damage enemies take that are under Hex by 10%. So everyone else is loading in a bunch more damage, and decreases the value of their heals by 30%. I feel like some people are saying this champion's probably not going to hit the meta. I feel like with the amount of certainly arena teams that have got heavy healing, heavy defensive comps, I feel like he might scrape in. So the way I see him being played, and I do feel like he is an arena champion, by the way. He will be able to play elsewhere, but I feel like he's an arena-based champion. Where's his aura out of interest? All battles, 20% crit rate aura. People underestimate this. That's actually pretty massive as well. Would you use crit rate aura? Not that often, but when you do, I mean, 20% is just means you can stack a lot more damage in your team. But people, and it's fair enough, prefer a speed aura. So yeah, I feel like when you're playing him with teams like Arbiter into a Lissandra. So Lissandra just allows you to have a lot more time to get your abilities away with her A3, or into a Kaimar who sleeps the whole enemy team, or into someone like a Gergo who will freeze the whole enemy team. It's got to be someone that goes after your speed tune that gives you enough time to get Ruel away. Otherwise, you're probably going to fail. That's the long and short of it. I think Sylar could fill that role as well. Someone who comes in second and reduces enemy speed and a ton of enemy turn meter. Someone like Umbral can do the same job. She'll come in and provoke for 2 turns. So somebody that can come in second and basically lock down the enemy for long enough for Rawell to get 1.5 turns. And that's what we're talking about here, because he gets a straight up 50% turn meter fill after he's done this ability. And he's got to do this and then do this. And that should be the enemy team dead. I've gone for Savage on my masteries. I've gone for a normal arena offense. The main difference that I've done here is I've put in Opportunist, because I think there's a good chance the person you pair him with is going to cast a fear or a freeze or his sleep or something to enable him to get his time away. So I feel like this is most likely going to be required. And I've gone support tree because I just want that extra accuracy stats. Now, the cool thing about him, right? So he's going to buff his own accuracy by 50% before he does the Hex. Yeah. So I feel like if you can get him to a couple of hundred accuracy and then keep his, but make him a damage build, then that's going to be like your sweet spot. So you can see here, I've got 200 accuracy. When he plays his ability, that goes up to 300. Yeah, 50% more, 300, which is actually enough. So I've just gone for one set of perception, and then the ideal is Savage Gear because you're going to hit harder. But you could do Cruel Gear, you could do Fatal Gear, anything to, if you can't do the Savage Gear, then just get stats instead of sets. But I think one set perception is really useful because you get that 40 extra accuracy, and that's going to do a good job. I've gone crit damage, attack percent, speed. You do need to be relatively quick because you've got to cycle 1.5 turns. And then we just try to pick up the extra crit rate, really, and speed in the rest of the gear. Okay, first thing we're going to do, though, we're going to take him for a spin and just see what his damage looks like in our normal kind of test bed. I can't test him against Dragon 20 like I normally would because this is the wrong affinity for him. But he would be strong affinity against 25, 21. We'll do a quick test on 21. Okay, so we're going to test him here then. Stage 21, got the normal crew just to test damage. I'm not testing stage 20 because stage 20 is the wrong affinity for him. So this is a neutral affinity here. Going to get a normal stuff out. Decrease defense and weaken. Poison, etc, etc. He can actually get his first ability away here. Get his hexes up. Whilst we keep cycling through. Then get our poison on ourselves. And, we've kind of cycled through a ton of stuff here before he actually gets his ability off. 27 seconds in, we finally get a hit. Has everyone got all the debuffs? Yes, looks like it. So let's see what we do here. You saw his kit, 140, followed by 140 again. Look, 280k hit is powerful, yeah? And he's built well. He's built quite fast, actually, so we could definitely get more damage out of him. This is not crazy, but he is built well. And 280k hit against Wave 21 stuff is actually really great. The question is now, you've got to cycle through all of his kit again, waiting for all that stuff to come back. I guess it's not on the slowest cooldown ever. Nice hit there as well, 81k A1. Pretty good. But the challenge with all of this stuff is You know, if these guys on stage 21 to 25 get a hit, they start to do a hell of a lot of damage. So we've got a lot of cycling to do. But he does just one-shot the waves, to be fair, in the build that I've got him here. And obviously, when we get to stuff like the dragon, or any boss, in fact, the decreased defense on the A1 is useful. It's actually a useful ability. 92k hit there from his A1. So yeah, he's doing good damage, but you have to bear in mind that I've built him well. Yeah, so he should do good damage. Any damage dealer should hit like this. You know, this is no different from what we'd see from an Abyss or from Foley or an Ethos. Maybe it's a bit harder, but it's not crazy different. And there's a lot of setup time to make it work. So look, I think he's pretty capable of being a wave clearer for you. The other thing I want to check as well, I've got my Thea built out because, you know, should he just be the person that goes before Thea is the other question. Who can I even drop out here? It's kind of got to be Arb, but that's a big amount of damage to lose. Maybe it should be one of these two. I guess we'll lose Gerp. You know, should he just straight up be the one who sets up your Thea? Is another question that we could ask. And he's the only person in the game currently that can do that, by the way. So, you know, he throws out the hexes. Let's see what Thea does on her A3. Straight up 3 to 400k. Now, for me, that's a more achievable and quicker setup to do. So, you know, some people are saying, you know, maybe don't worry about Thea. He's just about himself. He can be, but honestly, I think Thea is the package here. I think Thea is the one that is significantly going to, you know, change your game or change the way that damage is done because she can absolutely smack. Whereas he is kind of just same level as the other Nukas. If you've already got Astralon, he's not much different from it. If you've already got, you know, any of the Rays, the Ethoses, the Trunders, you know, he's not that much different to those guys. But pair these two together, and I think we might have something going on. Now, if we're talking about any other dungeon, by the way, that's his job. His job is to smack through waves. Smacking through waves. He doesn't have anything else. He doesn't bring anything else to the table. Does he have loads of AoE for Spider? No, he does not. Does he have, you know, any more control for waves, anything like that? No, he does not. So all he's got is smacking through waves, but he smacks pretty damn hard. In fact, I'll do Arena last. I think Doom Tower is probably somewhere else that we should have a look at. Let's go to a decent stage on hard. Let's take it up to like 90 odd, okay? Now, currently, if you do not have Seer, getting through these waves, floor 90 plus, is incredibly difficult. These guys all have got crazy stats. Yeah, they've all got so much defense, 9,000 defense. You know, it's just so much health. They're incredibly difficult to get through, and it takes a long time. If you've got Seer, it's a different story. Just blow them up. But let's see. Firstly, again, let's try him on his own. And then we're going to try him with... So who might actually run here? Let's not just throw in randoms. Let's see. I might run a team something similar to this, and then Candraphon coming in here. And my Candraphon would be the person that over time does damage, yeah? We've got a bit of damage out here as well. So let's see if on his own he's capable of doing much in Doom Tower. Because that's where, honestly, if we're looking for gains, it's where there's high health opponents. Hex goes out nice. Obviously, we've got a bunch of control going on. We're going to start to take some hits. And then here comes the damage. 50s, so about 100k of damage. It's a lot. It's a lot. I think it's more than I'd see from a Candraphon. You know, it's definitely a good level of damage against these waves. So, will he help you if you're struggling to do some damage? Yeah, I think he can. But then you've got to cycle back through all of that again. And don't forget, I've got him geared well. Okay? So, you've got to cycle through all of that stuff again before we kind of get through the waves again. But honestly, he's as good as anyone else. And the fact that he puts things like a veil on himself, you know, stops himself getting targeted, gives him a bit of a one-up on, you know, anyone like an Ethos or someone that's a bit more vulnerable. But, you know, he's probably on a similar path to what you do with Candraphon. Candraphon does a lot of damage. He can reduce a lot of damage as well. and he can hide himself. So, for these type of levels, actually really good. Again, I'd say similar to a Astrolon. Similar type of build and similar level of damage. If we had the same type of team going again, but in this instance, we say, okay, so Nick, take a rest. Thea come in. What's Thea's? Thea's got good affinity here as well. And then again, like this is where I see, if you don't have Seer blowing up waves, this is probably your best bet. Hex is out there, get stuns and what have you, but then Thea says, bam, 100k across the board. She does eat the Hex. Maybe you want an even slower Thea so that he does his A2 first before Thea goes, because, we're slightly better off than we were, but we're still not one-shotting the whole wave in a way that Seer does. Seer, epic Void champion, crazy that she is by far the best way to blow up endgame. Even with this crazy combo we've got going on right now, we're still not blowing them up completely. So that's disappointing, I'd say. In that wave of damage you've just seen there, because Thea blew up the Hex, he's actually done not much different from Seal. Okay, let's get on to the arena. So the arena has got to be his strongest place to play. It's got to be. And, whenever I'm doing tests on the test server like this, I'm up against the content creators that have whaled the hardest. Like every single one of these defenses is plat quality defense, pretty much. So, they're going to have high resistances. So we might have, use some tokens, whatever. High resistances, look at this, 337k. So they're going to be all, this might not be quite as bad, but it's got Torment, so I'd have to deal with that in a different way. But yeah, you'd be looking at having to bring in 335 again. A lot of accuracy to beat those teams. What's this one here? 153. So this is more like a normal team, I'd say. I don't know what sort of speed they are. I don't know anything about who these people are. But let's give it a try. So will 2 turn meter boosters give me a chance to go twice? That's kind of what we're asking here. That's what we need him to do. He's got to go 1.5 times to get his abilities away. I'm only just quicker. I'm going to be able to push back that turn meter hopefully here. We're done. Now, honestly, at this point, because I know that we're not going to get 1.5 turns away, I'm almost in desperation mode already. Like, are they going to buff a ton? No. So my A3 straight away could go up. Or I could A2 and just hope that I get a fear off here. It's like an option. But let's try the A3. This is what I normally would do. We then put Hex on them and we boost ourselves. Okay, so we are going again. So I can get my A4 away and hopefully get Lissandra's ability away. Didn't quite get it away. So at this point, I didn't get my 1.5 turns. And therefore, I've lost, basically. Or I might just about win over time, but probably I've lost. So it shows how challenging it is to use him unless you've got somebody who can actually properly lock the enemy. Who was that I just fought? Who did I just fight? This one. So, if you've got instead of the Madame, for example, somebody like a Gergo, good to go, or a Kaimar, or maybe throw someone else in here like a Sylar, then you've got a chance. Because you should be able to get your abilities away. It's really nice that I get my Hex up. Sorry, not my Hex up. My increased accuracy up before Kaimar goes. So that I get my freeze off straight after. Still got to resist here. That's just got to be a 3% chance to resist. That was just unlucky. We can then roll in on someone who is frozen. Perhaps the Ray. Take her down. And then at this point, we should be able to let's just stop her having a go. Come back round. And then you're like, bam, A2. And we're hitting for, honestly, we just hit for about 80k. But there was no decreased defense down. Yeah, so you're having to make sacrifices over key positions like decreased defense or what have you, to be able to get that stuff away. And I'm not even in a set that can deal with Torment in this sort of setup. So let's try this one here. honestly, 337k, I would have to ramp his accuracy right up to be able to do anything against this team. So that's just not going to happen. Let's see what Stu's got going on here. So, yeah, this is the sort of team power that I'd be pretty comfortable to fight. Don't know if we're faster, though. Stu's don't have good gear. Yeah. So we do kind of cut in. Now we can push them back. Now we can get a Hex away and freeze. And at this point, you should just straight up win the fight. You know, even though they've got oh, actually, I shouldn't have hit there because that means she gets a go. You got to be careful who you hit on because basically there's a mastery that when you do a lot of damage, they've got a chance to just drop a debuff. So here we go, the A2. We should nail the lot, and we do, even without decreased defense. And that's how I see him being played in the arena. But honestly, the harder defense you go up against, I haven't got anyone dealing with Torment here. The harder defense you go up against, this is going to be a really tough defense. Very high HP champions. Let's see how we do. This is basically a plat level defense here. This is really important actually. It's important to see if Rawell can be on the same sort of track as where we need him to be. So boost the accuracy of my team. We get Hex out on again on the same amount. Do we freeze everyone? We do. Okay, so and that's the benefit of this increased accuracy buff and knowing that he's going to go again soon. Basically, it gives you the chance at least to boost your other buffers. So this could be Madame here, but with Madame you would not be locking them out. It definitely could be Kaimar here in this spot. And with Kaimar here, it would actually be really strong. And then it tops us up to have a chance. And the thing with Sifi is she's like, you know what? I don't care about freeze. I don't even care about it. You can do it all day long. I'm probably just going to get out of it. So they still get their buffs up. Let's see how this works this time. Slow it down. Still get a double hits away. Again, really no different because they've now got increased defense up. So difficult, guys. Difficult to beat up these high-powered teams without essential champions. So I think the other option, and maybe one that's more likely, honestly, is that he ends up being the person that just sets up your Thea. And your Thea becomes the nuke. So you go higher accuracy build. I've got all perception here now. Higher accuracy build, higher speed build. Still with some damage built in. Honestly, if I was building him fully, I'd switch this out to be like crit rate gloves. Not crit damage, so we still got his crit up. Something like this. But I don't want to lose all that speed. But basically, I would be pushing him to be able to be my setup for a Thea. So something like this. High accuracy, high speed. Some crit to at least get some damage away. But damaging is not then the main part of his kit. So yeah, I feel like if there's any sort of change, it's going to be this sort of team here. So, you know, basically using Rawell and Thea together. But Rawell's more like a go second champion or go third champion. So all he's doing really is throwing out the Hex, boosting your accuracy so that if we do need to clean anything like this, we do it, sleep everyone, and then your Thea comes in and deals with the people that have got Hex on, and hopefully she one-shots. She didn't. She got a weak hit here. She didn't kill him. Damn. Don't know. I mean, it might just be that I'm fighting against such a good defense here that, you know, it's insane. But honestly, I guess he's strong. But I feel like there's too much that you need to do with him to make him like really crazy. So maybe I just need to show him against like more normal teams because I've been trying to kind of showcase against really a super high powered team here, and maybe it just needs to be a bit more like this. You know, this is actually the way it's going to work for the average player who is going to try and do this. And, you know, Thea and Ruel together, as long as we're not getting weak hits, actually do a ton of work. But as I say, that's no different from what we would get from a lot of other nukers that are out there right now. You know, do we need... The setup's very different because you're not running a decreased defense champion. Unless you ran... I guess you could run Deacon as your kind of... You know, this Lysandra spot as an option. But there's very few that do all of the things we need it to do. And... you know, when you start to come up against some of the stronger defenses out there, Unfortunately, I'm just seeing the same stuff over and over. But it becomes a real challenge to use them, I think. So I don't think they're going to get used to endgame at all, or very unlikely. If you've got these two paired together, I think you could probably boss low gold arena. And if you've got them even earlier than that, silver and stuff, then yeah, you should be blowing stuff up with them. But honestly, I'm probably a little bit underwhelmed about how he's actually performed versus what his kit does. Personally, I honestly expected him to play a lot better, and for such an interesting kit, I think they've gone completely the right way with it. But in the reality of actually using him in content, I don't know if he does as much as I hoped he would do. So there you go, guys. Look, that's my verdict. Ruel the Huntmaster. Good champion, strong champion. If you don't have a nuker, he's going to come in and can do a lot of work for you. But if you've already got one of those big hitters, I'd say he's probably not going in ahead of them, in my opinion. I've been Hell Hades. I will see you later.